Hi there. It's January 1st, 2024, and we are starting a new study on Proverbs, starting from the beginning again. This month we're going to use the English Standard Version. And I was doing some research on the different versions. I was going to parallel this with the NIV, which is the most popular version in America, until I found out some very disturbing stuff about the NIV, which I will talk about in another video, but I'm not going to use it. Let's just say if your NIV was published after 1984, that's a newer NIV, and the NIV basically strive to be woke, for lack of a better word, and politically correct. They sought to remove all gender issues that might bother people. They don't use man, woman, boy, girl. They use child, person. That's wrong. Okay. I have an NIV that was published in 1983. This is the original, the accurate one. But there's not one online. They all use a 2011 version, which is basically politically correct, and I was disturbed to find out things, and I might do another video to say exactly what I found. But we can go over here. This is gotquestions.org. It's a great Christian site that just answers all kinds of questions. Okay. And this is about the English Standard Version. It covers their history. The English Standard Version is a revision of the 1971 edition of the Revised Standard Version. First edition was published in 2001 by Crossway Bibles, the English Standard Version. Okay. And Packer, translator sought and received permission from the National Council of Churches to use the 1971 edition of the Revised Standard Version as the English textual basis for the ESV. Difficult passages were translated using the Masoretic text of the Hebrew Bible and the Dead Sea Scrolls and other manuscripts. This is interesting. Translation method. The stated intent of the translators was to produce a readable and accurate translation that stands the traditional Bible translations, beginning with the English Reformer. So they started with William Tyndale, who translated the New Testament in 1526. And when they made the King James Version in 1611, they used that as their basis. Okay. Examples of other translation in this genre are the Revised Standard, American Standard, Revised Standard 71. In their own words, they sought to follow a literal word-for-word translation philosophy. To that end, the translators sought as far as possible to capture the precise wording of the original text and the personal style of each Bible writer, while taking into account differences of grammar, syntax, and idiom between current literary English and the original languages. The result is a translation that is more literal than the New International Version, but more fluent and colloquial than the New American Standard Bible. Pros and cons. The English Standard Version receives complaints from both sides. Some say it is too literal, others say it is too dynamic. Can something be too literal? Often criticism from both sides of an argument indicates that something has achieved a good balance between the two. Oh, there you go. And as usual, I'm going to parallel it online with the New Living Translation. Okay. And it's more of a dynamic, captures the thoughts, accurately captures the thoughts. The New Living Translation is my current favorite. Used to be the NIV, but I like the New Living Translation. So we're going to parallel it with the New Living like we usually do. But we know that the English Standard Version is a very literal word for word, and the New Living Translation is very dynamic, thought for thought. So between the two, you can get a very good balance. Okay? So, now that we've taken 5 minutes for that, let's begin the the Proverbs in the English Standard Version. Okay. The beginning of knowledge. The Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel. To know wisdom and instruction, to understand words of insight, to receive instruction in wise dealing, in righteous justice and equity, to give prudence to the simple, knowledge and discretion to the youth. Let the wise hear and increase their learning, and the one who understands obtain guidance. To understand a proverb and a saying, the words of the wise and their riddles. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. I always like that one. Okay. And does it say anything different over here? Purpose, wisdom, and discipline. That's full of lives. To help them do what is right, just, and fair, these proverbs will give insight to the simple, knowledge and discernment to the young. Let the wise listen to these proverbs and become wiser. Let those with understanding receive guidance by exploring the meaning of these proverbs and parables, the words of the wise and their riddles. And it says about the same thing. The enticements of sinners. Hear, my son, your father's instructions, and forsake not your mother's teaching, for they are a graceful garland for your head and pendants for your neck. My son, if sinners entice you, do not consent. If they say, come with us and let us lie in wait for blood, let us ambush the innocent without reason. Like Sheol or hell, let us swallow them alive and whole, like those who go down to the pit. We shall find all precious goods. We shall fill our houses with plunder. Throw in your lot amongst us. We will have one purse. Thieves, gangs, right? My son, do not walk in their way with them. Hold back your foot from their paths, for their feet run to evil, and they make haste to shed blood. For in vain a net is spread in the sight of any bird. Okay. If the bird sees you laying a trap, he's not going to fall for the trap. But these men lie in wait for their own blood. They set ambush for their own lives. Such are the ways of everyone who is greedy for unjust gain. It takes away the life of its possessors. Right? Yeah. The greedy robs you of life, it says over here. The call of wisdom. Wisdom cries aloud in the street. In the market she raises her voice. At the head of the noisy street she cries out. At the entrance of the city gate she speaks. How long, O simple ones, will you love being simple? How long will scoffers delight in their scoffing, and fools hate knowledge? For if you turn at my reproof, or if you turn away from my reproof, behold, I will pour out my spirit to you. I will make my words known to you. Because I have called, and you refuse to listen, have stretched out my hand, and no one has heeded, because you have ignored my counsel, and would have none of my reproof, I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when terror strikes you. When terror strikes you like a storm, and your calamity comes like a whirlwind, when distress and anguish come upon you, they will call upon me, but I will not answer. They will seek me diligently, but will not find me. Because they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord, would have none of my counsel, and despised all my reproof. Therefore they shall eat the fruit of their way, and have the fill of their own devices. For the simple are killed by their turning away, and the complacency of fools destroys them. But whoever listens to me will dwell secure and be at ease without dread of disaster. Well, that's Proverbs 1 in the English Standard Version. We can look at the New Living Translations, the dynamic thought for thought, and see if it says differently. Wisdom shouts in the street, she cries out in the public square, and calls to the crowds along the main street. To those gathered in front of the city gate, how long, you simpletons, will you insist on being simple-minded? How long will you mockers relish your mocking? How long will you fools hate knowledge? Come and listen to my counsel. I'll share my heart with you and make you wise. I called you so often, but you wouldn't come. I reached out to you, but you paid no attention. You ignored my advice and rejected the correction I offered. So I will laugh when you're in trouble. And I will mock you when disaster overtakes you, when calamity overtakes you like a storm, when disaster engulfs you like a cyclone, and anguish and distress overwhelm you. When they cry for help, I will not answer. Though they anxiously search for me, they will not find me. For they hated knowledge and chose not to fear the Lord. They rejected my advice and paid no attention when I corrected them. Therefore they must eat the bitter fruit of living their own way, choking on their own schemes. For simpletons turn away from me to death. Fools are destroyed by their own complacency, but all who listen to me will live in peace, untroubled by fear or harm. I love the way the NLT, New Living Translation, puts it. We did not highlight much in here. The fear of the Lord is the foundation of true knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. They do. Someone who thinks they know everything cannot be taught anything. So, that's one. Talking about wisdom, the call of wisdom. Lots of stuff. So begins another trip through the Proverbs, a day at a time. There are 31 days in January, so we will be able to cover one chapter each day. And hopefully some of this stuff will be, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, I remember that. Until you can remember everything that's in here. That's the whole idea. So, that's Proverbs 1 for January 1st. Happy New Year, everybody. Be good. Be humble. See you next time.